So guys, Sienna and myself have been watching a lot of like paranormal experiences by some of our favorite YouTubers, people like Bunny, which is Graveyard Girl, and Shane Dawson is another great person. Also Haley, she's pretty sensitive. She's always promoting, that's not creepy at all. She promotes light, love, you know, positivity. She's a firm believer, of course, in her angels. And she's also very sensitive to the, you know, the dark side, and she, you know, does try to avoid it at all costs as well. But anyways, I find these YouTubers to be fascinating. They cover all kinds of aspects, from funny things, showing us products that we see everywhere, from Wish, and always in our face on our social media accounts, and then they buy these products just to show us viewers, you know, how, like, okay, that's $5. Well, there's a reason why it's $5. Anyways, so they, yeah, well, there's several different ones out there. So anyways, we got down this rabbit hole of paranormal encounters that these people have had, and it just kind of got me thinking, I guess, of some of the paranormal experiences myself or a family member of mine has experienced. And oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely firm believer of ghosts. I've always been fascinated by ghost hunting, you know, shows like the one with Zach. Sienna loves Zach.
Oh, Ghost Adventures?
Ghost Adventures.
It's called that, right? Ghost Adventures.
It is called that. So, I remember when we were really young, and my dad, if you have not watched Ghost Adventures, you would not get that reference. But chicken skins is something that Zach says. I'm sorry, we're going off a little topic here, but chicken skins is something that Zach says a lot. When the minute he gets, you know, goosebumps, he goes, "I've got chicken skins. Oh my god!" Anyway, sorry. That's a little. I thought I should explain that for those who have not watched Ghost Adventures. Anyways, so, you know, when I was younger, I remember my parents bought this house. It was just a 2-bedroom bungalow, and mind you, we were a family of 8. So naturally, 5 of us children stayed in one bedroom, and my youngest brother and my mom and dad stayed in another bedroom. Well, my dad, being the architect that he was, had this whole vision of how he was going to convert this 2-bedroom bungalow into this 2-story house with multiple rooms in it. And, you know, many years later, he of course accomplished this. However, during the time that we lived there, and as it was being converted, we essentially grew up on a building site because it was a slow process. And I remember when the second floor had already been built, and my mom and my dad had, you know, had this room way down the bottom of the hallway, and myself and my sister and my little brother, at one point he had moved into our room, were clearly on the opposite side of the house, way down the opposite side of the hallway toward where the stairs are of the house. And I remember my mom being pretty shook up, and there was like talk amongst my dad and my mom and my older brothers, and of course us younger kids wanted to listen in, like, what's going on. And I guess my mom had had an experience the night before where she had woken up in the middle of the night, and she was like looking at the door down the hallway to where, you know, our rooms would have been. But in front of the door was a gentleman standing there, and she kind of like cleared her eyes of the whole like rubber eyes, like, am I seeing this? Am I seeing this? And she like looks out, and she's clearly, in her mind at least, wearing a white nightgown, like a night dress, something that would of course being predated. And then she felt like, I can't remember if he was wearing a nightcap or something as well, but there's something else about him that was pretty distinct to her that could tell that he was from a different decade. Bless you. Sienna and I both got little allergies, seasonal change stuff going on, so we might sound a little stuffy or sneezy in some cases. So we, yeah, so my mom anyways remembers him clearly like this figure, you know, as her eyes are adjusting and they're like fixated on this being standing in front of the doorway. This entity, I guess, lifts his hands up, or his one arm up, and points either to her, she's not quite sure, but either to my dad, who's extremely religious, a Catholic man. Being in Ireland, growing up in Ireland, that's pretty much the majority of the country. Well, my dad especially had gone to an all-boys Jesuit school, boarding school kind of thing, and he was just a very firm believer in church and prayers, and, you know, we had statues all out through the house. Anyways, so here's this, you know, entity, and he's either pointing at a picture of my father, or, I mean, excuse me, a picture of Jesus, which was a picture right next to my father's head, or a picture of my father himself, excuse me. There's not 2 pictures. I don't know why I keep saying that. Again, a little bit stuffy in the old brain here. But so my dad's like sound asleep. This entity is pointing either at him or the picture of Jesus next to his head. And of course, you know, when my mom relaying the story to my father the next day, like he gathered all those kids around, we knelt at the bed and we said the rosary and tried to help the entity find God and go toward the light, which my father believes it did after that kind of spiritual cleansing. But, you know, I remember my mom just feeling so shook up. Like, she even remembered, like, after she saw it raise its arm up and point like that, she just, like, put her head back under her covers and, like, I'm just gonna go to sleep. That did not happen. I'm not seeing this. And I can imagine, like, I'd just be frozen with fear. Like, in my own few experiences where I've gone into a place, now, mind you, I've never actually physically seen an entity, but I'm more, like, of a feeling person, and all of a sudden, like, I'll feel tight and I'll clam up and I'll get freaked out and I'll just know that it's not a good place. So, I just can't imagine that fear and how freaked out I would be if that was my case. I know after, like, years even after that situation had come up or the conversation in our household, I would, if I needed to pee in the middle of the night, like, no, I was holding that. I'm going to hold that the whole night. There's no way I'm walking out. I slept on the top of the bunk, and I was not, like, about to, like, get off and, like, turn my back to my door and climb down the ladder and then walk out and onto the landing and into the bathroom in the pitch dark of that house after that story. So it was pretty freaky. What about you, Sienna? Have you ever experienced any bad juju places or ghostly encounters?
I mean, I have had feelings where, like, I felt something around me and there was nothing there. I guess I just am very paranoid about that kind of stuff. But there was one time when, you know, my stepdad's, you know, mom came over to Oregon, and we were all, like, viewing over this, remember the paper factory, you know, the old one where Marcus used to work?
Oh, yeah, the Westland paper factory.
It was all, you know, like the part where it was just all broken down and, you know, factories and paper all. There's been deaths there, and I definitely was just very uncomfortable.
That's true. There's a lot of fast-moving equipment that, you know, there have been definitely incidences there.
And so I was just so paranoid, and I was scared, so I was just looking out, and it could have been something, it could have been something that did, but, like, I was looking at this one window, and I saw something whoosh past, and I freaked out, but no one listened to me. I'm like, you must be seeing things, and that's all that really happened to me that I can remember. I mean, I might have encountered something when I was, like, way younger that I don't even remember, but that's all I can think of.
Yeah, that comes to mind. Anyways, guys, thanks to everyone who's tuned in or checked out our story. A little all over the place. I apologize for that, only because Sienna and I, since it's September, you know, back to school, always the little snots and germs come home from school. I haven't been feeling, honestly, actually that great for the last couple of days. That's why I'm all snugged up in my sweater right now. And so my brain hasn't been firing on all cylinders these days. So I do apologize if that came off a little scattered. But either way, why don't you go ahead and comment in the comment down below and let us know some of your ghostly encounters and things you've experienced. I've got a couple others, and maybe I'll share them in the future, but that was the one that kind of came to mind today, and it was, I look forward to hearing from everybody. You guys have a great one. Bye!
Bye!